Good morning, I'm Jolyon Berry.wmv, and I've got some of my colleagues sitting amongst you today, so good morning. I was inspired to talk to you this morning about the perception that employment law is terribly restrictive, following a dinner that I had recently with business people. During that dinner, there was a conversation about the challenges that we all face, and a terribly sensible businessman came most irate when describing his recent experiences with employment law. The gentleman in question was convinced that he transferred all of his powers as an employer to a liberal employment system that would prevent him from making any unpopular decisions, and that we're all off to hell in a handcart. And this got me thinking. When we look at our businesses, we have to take into account the staff and the employees that we have working for us. They're either doing a good job or they're not. Even if they are doing a good job, there are always improvements that can be made. Things could be better. And if staff are not doing a good job, things can certainly be better. But making things better means making changes. And there are rules about things that we can and cannot do. The point is, though, that these rules are no different for you than from anybody else. So why is it some employers seem to get by whilst others struggle? Why is it that some employers think that their staff are the tail that wags the dog? Now, there are plenty of employment laws about, rules that affect us every single day, and the following are relevant most days. The Working Time Regulations, the Equality Act, the Employment Rights Act, the ACAS Code of Practice, and there are probably others. In fact, there are specific rules that apply from time to time, things like TUPE, or the Agency Workers Regulations, and rules on consultation of staff during redundancies and so on. There is a lot of employment law. I was eavesdropping on a telephone conversation that a colleague of mine was having with a client about a year ago, and what I could hear went a bit like this. Yes, as long as she doesn't have a year's service, it's quite easy if you want to dismiss, as long as, of course, there's no grounds for discrimination. Ah, she's black. Well, that's not the reason you're dismissing her, is it? And she's pregnant. Oh, I see. And she's a lesbian. It all looked slightly different at that point, but the real killer is when an employer goes off sick because he or she incorrectly thinks that that's some sort of magic shield against being managed, magic shields against change, and in particular about increasing levels of performance. And this mindset, coupled with an employee who insists on exercising every right that they think they've got, can make life pretty tricky. At the moment, I'm dealing with a litigant in person who believes that submitting 40 Equality Act questionnaires and 2 Data Protection Act requests for data is appropriate behaviour after his employer quite reasonably wanted to start a capability process, having received various customer complaints about the levels of service that he was delivering. And this particular employee only had 8 months service as well. Clearly we're going to have to deal with these problems, but they're things that we don't need to be afraid of. Look, while an employee is on maternity leave, it is true that she's got additional protection, but she can still be made redundant. If a member of staff resigns owing you money, but you don't have a deduction clause to take that money from the final pay packet, you can still demand the money back. If you have staff transferred to you by TUPE, you can make changes to the employment contracts if they can be justified. And if you have a salesperson who leaves you for a competitor, or doesn't give you proper notice, or nicks the database on the way out, you can do things to prevent the damage. Okay? You do need some tools in your toolkit, however. You need a suitable employment contract, nothing fancy, but it's got to be fit for purpose. You need some policies to look after your interests, your special interests, that is. If you a party is to a commercial deal, you want to make sure that the employment issues are sorted out. And if you have an online presence, and let's face it, these days who doesn't, you need an internet policy. You also need to be in charge. You need to enforce your policies. You need to demand good service from your staff. Don't accept poor attendance, poor attitudes, or inappropriate behaviour in the office, because it's difficult to regain lost ground. From time to time, you'll need to take advice. The message, however, is be brave, be fair, and be better. Thank you.